Welcome to the Do What You Love podcast, a podcast with a mixture of personal development and career advice to help you reach your full potential. Now over to your host, Life Purpose Champion, Amanda Heal.
Hello and welcome to the Do What You Love podcast. I'm your host, Amanda Heal. Today I'd like to start something different. Some of you may know that I have written a book called You Don't Need Sight, You Just Need Vision. But what some of you may not know is that I am in the process of writing the second edition of this book. And it is going to be called Seeing by Vision, Not by Sight, How to Discover Your Life's Purpose and Put It into Action. But as I said, it's not a new book. It's the second edition, the better, improved edition of the book I wrote before. So, as a gift to my podcast listeners, I would like to give you an abridged version of each chapter as I write it. Please understand that the chapters are not the official audio version of the book, as the book still has to be edited. But I wanted to give you a kind of a taste of what would be in the book as I write it. So starting with chapter 1 then, I've always believed that we are all created for a specific purpose. I don't know where this belief stems from. Perhaps it's because I believe in and love God and that He created the universe and all of humanity to serve His purposes. I remember sitting at work on my 27th birthday, wondering what my life's purpose was. I don't know why this happened on my 27th birthday and not any other, but I wondered about the question of why I was here ever since that day. I asked my friends and colleagues, and they couldn't tell me. I even read a book about purpose, and it didn't tell me either. But thankfully I found the answer, and that is what this book is about. What is purpose? The Macquarie Dictionary defines purpose as the object for which anything exists or is done, made, used, etc. If you use an object for its intended purpose, the object usually works well. But if you try to use the object for a purpose for which it is not designed, it will either not work at all or will not work very well. A toaster is specifically designed to toast bread and other similar products. But if you tried to make a cup of coffee using the toaster, it would not work at all. Similarly, if you used a butter knife to spread softened butter onto bread, it would work very well. But if you tried to use the butter knife to cut steak, it may go some way towards cutting the meat, but it wouldn't work particularly well. I believe the same applies to us as human beings. If we discover our life's purpose, we discover the thing we are made to do, and we usually do it very well. Pastor, author, and filmmaker Thomas Dexter, T.D. Jakes, describes life's purpose as being much like an instinct. It comes naturally to us. It's something we are wired to do. He says that if we can combine our instinct with our intellect, we will obtain happiness and fulfillment. He suggests that, as we are taught to rely on our knowledge rather than our instinct, it is possible for us to live our entire lives relying almost entirely on knowledge rather than instinct or purpose. This can lead to discouragement, disillusionment, and depression. Nutritionist and author Shawn Stevenson describes what I am referring to as a superpower. It is a unique gift or talent that only you possess. Stefan was born with congenital glaucoma, which is a condition that causes a build-up of pressure in the eye, causing loss of vision. It is relatively rare, affecting 1 in every 250,000 children born in Australia. If the condition is detected early, it can usually be easily corrected by releasing the excessive pressure within the eye. Stefan had a number of eye surgeries to preserve his remaining vision, but these surgeries were unsuccessful. His parents took him overseas to have treatment, which preserved his vision for a short time, but Stefan eventually lost his vision at the age of 18. Whilst he was overseas receiving treatment from 2 eye clinics in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in the USA, Stefan attended a Bible college. It was there that one of his teachers discovered that Stefan had a particular gift for explaining concepts in the Bible to others. And it was then that Stefan discovered that preaching the Word of God was his life's purpose. When Stefan returned to Australia, he decided to train as a Presbyterian minister. This would not be easy, as no blind people had ever been trained as Presbyterian ministers in Australia. However, several serving ministers had continued in ministry, having lost most of or all of their vision during their service. Stefan took courage from the fact that a number of blind people had been trained and ordained into the ministry overseas. He had read about them in a Braille magazine called the Braille Bible Messenger and was able to contact them. This was in the 1980s, before computers and mobile phones. Stefan eventually convinced the church that he should be trained and became the first blind person in Australia to be ordained as a Presbyterian minister. Stefan was ordained for ministry in 1988 and has continued in parish service till now. He has also served the church and the wider Christian community by advocating for Bible-based, morally conservative Christian ethics with government on issues such as euthanasia, abortion, marriage, stem cell research, surrogate motherhood, etc. When I asked Stefan how he felt now that he was living out his life's purpose, he said, quote, "To live a day of life is a privilege that often involves difficulties of various kinds. I am thrilled to realize that it all has a purpose for me. All things, not just the pleasant, happy, fulfilling things, but all things work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose." Romans chapter 8, verse 28. For me, that sense of every event, dark or bright, being allowed to happen to me for a reason, and a good reason at that, brings enormous comfort, calm, and confidence. God's going to work all things out for his glory, and how good, how wonderful is that? End quote. I believe that discovering your life's purpose is a bit like discovering gold. Some gold is easy to find, as it is on the surface of the earth. It can be found in the mud of a riverbed by scooping the mud out with a pan. Once the mud is washed away, the specks of gold are left. Some extremely fortunate people have even picked up gold nuggets lying on the ground. Other gold is contained within rock, hidden beneath the surface of the earth. The rock must be dug out of the earth and then put through a number of crushing and refining processes to extract the gold from it. Some people discover their life's purpose relatively easily. It is in plain sight or just under the surface. It isn't buried deeply, so it is easy to find and easy to define. Like most of us, 16-year-old Mark Tapper didn't know what he wanted to do when he left school. That is, until he visited a chiropractor for treatment for an injury he had sustained. Mark was so impressed with the treatment he received and his subsequent recovery that he decided that he wanted to become a chiropractor so he could heal people's bodies so they could function properly. He knew that this was his life's purpose. Now in his 60s, Dr. Tapper is a well-known and highly respected chiropractor, and I am fortunate enough to be one of his patients. He loves what he does and is determined to keep practicing as long as he is able. Most people must work hard and dig deep to discover their purpose. Their purpose is buried deep beneath a life of doing something else. It is buried beneath a lifetime of old habits and beliefs. Perhaps they have dreamt of doing something, but have forgotten their dream or have been told they couldn't pursue or achieve it. Perhaps they never knew what their life's purpose was. I was one of those. Jennifer had always loved music and had been involved in playing some type of music since she was 3. Whether she was performing in a school band, playing duets on the piano with her brother, or singing alone or in a choir, there was always music in her life. She had always dreamt of being a professional musician, but was discouraged by her peers from pursuing her dream as they thought that she probably wouldn't be able to earn a stable income as a professional musician. She also wasn't sure whether she was really good enough. So Jennifer eventually forgot about her dream. After finishing school, Jennifer started working for a telecommunications company. She worked for the same company for quite a number of years and mostly enjoyed the work. However, she was eventually moved to an area in the company where she quickly became unhappy. The pressure was constant, and she felt unappreciated by her supervisors. Eventually, this began to take a toll on her health, and so Jennifer took a package and left the company. Without the pressure and unhappiness of work, Jennifer found she had more time to think deeply about her future. It was then that she remembered her dream. After much soul-searching and working with a coach, me, Jennifer realised that her life's purpose was to serve and bring joy to others through music and writing. She found the courage she needed to start on her journey to living out her life's purpose. Jennifer got a part-time job and started studying for a graduate certificate in music. She loved it so much that she continued on to complete a graduate diploma. Jennifer plans to live out her life's purpose through writing, recording, and performing, and also writing inspirational material. When I asked Jennifer how it felt to be on the journey towards living out her life's purpose, she said, quote, "I feel like a completely different person. I have been transformed, re-energized, and I'm so much happier. It feels like a new beginning." End quote. Now, in the next episode of this podcast, I will take you through part 2 of chapter 1, where I will tell you about the 3 steps to discover your life's purpose. Now, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Do What You Love podcast. Until next time, have a great day and do what you love.
You've been listening to the Do What You Love podcast with Amanda Heal. Feeling unfulfilled and frustrated and unclear what to do next? Access Amanda's Are You Living Out Your Purpose quiz and resources to get you started on your journey to doing what you love at www.purposevisionfuture.com. That's purposevisionfuture.com.